All right, hello there, Coastal Bend Meteorologist Carly Smith here. We are about to get started with this weather impact alert with your live video update. What we are going to be focusing on, of course, is still more of the same. The biggest impact being dangerous waves, dangerous rip currents, but that's not the only current out there. We've got a really strong longshore current or a downwind southward current that's setting up across our water. Francine has turned north-northeast. That's what NNE stands for. And any local impact shift that is going along with this forecast, we've got you covered. Good morning, y'all. It is Tuesday, September 10th. Current time is 10:25 a.m. Hope everyone is doing well. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get much rain out of Francine for the coastal bend. We could use some rain inland in our watershed, of course, but that's just not going to set up. Now, the good news is we're not anticipating any big impacts that cause damage or flooding or things like that. There is still a coastal flood warning that is in place. Overall, it looks like our tides may reach about 2 feet, mostly at the time of high tide, which can lead to some minor coastal flooding. But at this point in time, I'm not anticipating any big uptick in our flooding or things like that. So here's a look at the latest on Tropical Storm Francine. As you look at the satellite radar imagery loop over the last 6 hours, you can tell Francine has started to take that curve to the north-northeast. So it is now moving away from the Texas coastline at 8 miles per hour, which is not good for our rain chances. We do have the stationary boundary that's still set up across the area. That's one of the big reasons why the valley has been dealing with flooding throughout the morning. So we've got some flood warnings, a flash flood warning, some flood advisories and flood warnings in place. Highway 77 has seen the most rain through Kennedy County and then further south on the way to Brownsville. Here is a look outside right now. North Beach in good shape. You can tell where the water has gotten high up into some spots, but overall, no flooding, no obvious flooding taking place there. Minor flooding does occur at 2 feet. The current level has fallen since this morning. It's at 1.48 feet. At 6:25 a.m., it was supposed to near 2 feet. It did not. So we are in pretty good shape there. We do have a really strong downshore wind there across our coastline. Hey, Rick, thanks. Take the turn Tuesday. That's a lot of alliteration there in the comment section, but I love it. So we've got this northeast wind, 24 miles per hour gust there in Rockport, 28 miles per hour Ingleside, 28 miles per hour at Naval Air Station, so that's Flower Bluff. Port Aransas, likely gusty as well, just not showing the reading right now. So our coastal locations are going to see some strong wind, while areas inland not going to see so much. When it comes to sustained wind, the beach is going to be sustained at around 20 miles per hour throughout the evening with gusts up to 35 miles per hour. So overall for your 3 weather impact, what's the weather impact? The alert is still for heavy rain, but that's really coastal locations, pretty much Padre Island south. So Padre Island National Seashore has the greatest risk for some heavy rainfall, as well as Kennedy County. The rest of us, we're really not going to see much. An isolated, a scattered kind of downpour is still possible into the early afternoon, but once we get into this evening, once Francine really starts heading northeast toward Louisiana, we are not going to see any rain. Damaging wind is not an issue for us, so it's not highlighted in red. We've got north-northeast wind again inland, so this is specifically for Corpus Christi at about 32 mile per hour for gusts. Areas along the coast could see 35 mile per hour gusts. We've got dangerous surf. That is the biggest issue. Really, that's the only one I should have highlighted in red at this point. 5 to 7 feet, 8 to 9 second periods through Wednesday. That really boosts the rip current risk. Tornadoes, not a concern at this point in time. Water spouts possible, especially for that waterway, Padre Island National Seashore into Clayburgh, Kennedy County locations. Otherwise, not concerned about tornadoes. So it's actually a pretty gorgeous day out there. Your current temperature is 79 degrees, feels like it's 81. We're going to keep those temperatures in the 80s with our cloud coverage for the most part. We've got some northeast winds out there as well. So tropical storm watch is in place. There's the coastal flood warning. We also have the coastal flood warning through 1 p.m. Thursday. We've got a tropical storm watch for our coastal locations. That's where I think gusts get up to 35. I'm not anticipating even tropical storm force gusts across our coastline. That would be 39 miles per hour or higher, but offshore, especially 70 nautical miles offshore where our buoys are, I do anticipate they get some readings around 40 miles per hour later on today and into early Wednesday morning, but otherwise, I think that's the closest the tropical storm force winds will get is out at our buoys, which is 70 nautical miles offshore. So here's that forecast that kind of shows that. You get the chance for some tropical storm winds when you start to see the blues showing up. So the buoy closest to Corpus Christi reading a forecast of a gust at 38 miles per hour. So that's just 1 mile per hour short of reaching that tropical storm force gust. Overall, the really strong winds. So yeah, there's a hurricane, Cat 1 hurricane strength wind speed forecast for Francine well offshore. So this is buoy 42002, which is in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, and that's getting up to 82 miles per hour in this forecast. So that's when it would become Cat 1 later on this afternoon, evening, especially if that buoy starts getting that reading. You see the Freeport buoy, so that's the buoy north of our Corpus Christi buoy, which is 42019. The Corpus Christi buoy is 42020. And so anyway, it looks like the Freeport buoy has the best chance of getting some tropical storm force winds. We get a sustained wind there. They're near the Freeport buoy, but again, this is well offshore. So yes, this wind, these waves will cause issues for mariners fishing, offshore drilling, impacted potentially by some of this action, but otherwise very minimal impacts here at the coastline. Louisiana still expected to get the brunt of this storm. Could be anywhere really between Lake Charles and New Orleans at this point, but leaning closer toward more of a New Orleans / Baton Rouge / Lafayette. That location kind of right now more of a target zone for some of the bigger impacts from Francine. Now the latest forecast does have it a little weaker at landfall, staying Category 1, but a fairly strong Category 1. We get up to 90 mile per hour winds there on Wednesday morning as this is approaching the coast. Now there is going to be some wind shear. We'll talk about that in just a second, that Francine will be interacting with, especially once it gets on land. So we think it will weaken pretty quickly inland, going from 85 to 45 miles per hour there between Wednesday evening and Thursday morning. But overall, Francine still anticipated to be at least a hurricane at landfall. This is the 10 a.m. forecast cone, taking it northeast. No big impacts again anticipated for the coastal bend. Here's the latest satellite radar data. Look at that. Look at that storm starting to spin. It's starting to look a bit more organized. We do have that stationary boundary I showed you earlier. That's kind of what's responsible for any rain remotely near the coastal bend. Those showers in Kennedy County and Clayburgh County starting to weaken as we speak. So I think I have radar imagery up next. Yeah, so a lot of the rain's starting to weaken. We get some thunder, some heavy rainfall that nears our coastline. With this storm moving northeast now at this point, I am not confident on any of this rain making it this far west at this point. So you do see it kind of strengthening, but starting to turn a little bit more south as it approaches the island, our barrier islands. That's where our winds are pushing it south now at this point. So yes, there is still a chance we see a little bit of rain. I would say Port Aransas through kind of like Flower Bluff and toward Rivera and then into Kennedy County. That's our best shot at rain the rest of the day, and I'm not confident in that. A lot of this is going to stay offshore and barely impact us. Now, with that being said, the stationary boundary is lifting north, so that may provide a little bit more rain up the coastline, so we could get some there toward Rockport, Seadrift, and then into portions along the northern coast, so closer to Galveston, as that stationary boundary lifts north on top of any development with Francine. So there's a little bit of a caveat there to the forecast, which could get us a little bit more rain for areas such as Rockport. We'll break that down on future casts first, but if we get any rain, whether that's from the stationary boundary or Francine, it's going to be right along the coast, and I've trended those rainfall totals down. High end would be an inch with an isolated kind of thunderstorm that develops. Low end, a few tenths of an inch. 1 to 3 inches into Kennedy County, but already seeing some radar estimates higher than 3 inches that have set up there into the southern part of Kennedy County. So actually, I did want to look at that. So let's do that first. We'll go back to the radar. I wanted to look at our 24-hour rainfall totals to see where that's gotten to now. So yeah, not a lot of rain showing up on Padre Island, but kind of Baffin Bay south and then into Kennedy County, Port Mansfield getting a lot of the brunt of the rainfall. So high end total 4.8 inches radar estimated there. Near Port Mansfield and just north of there into Kennedy County, Padre Island National Seashore in Kennedy County, seeing anywhere between 1 and 5 inches of rain, but that's Kennedy County. Once we get into Clayburgh County, it's just a few tenths of an inch that direction. So that's the latest. The target zone for a lot of the rain has been the Valley, Port Isabel to Port Mansfield, even Harlingen. So Highway 77, especially once you leave Kennedy County and you approach Raymondville, that's where we have seen some flooding impacting travel conditions. So not the best day to travel south. That will start, all of this rain will start to move east into the Gulf of Mexico as Francine really takes that turn to the northeast, and as it strengthens, it's going to tighten up. It's not going to be as wide, so that's going to limit our rain as well. So when you take a look at this rainfall forecast, you see all of the heavy rain now basically over the Gulf of Mexico. A few little isolated showers, not out of the question for the coastal bend, but it's not looking good between now and Wednesday morning for any rain for us. Heavy rain, flooding, storm surge, all of that is a risk for portions of Louisiana and even into Mississippi and up the Mississippi River Valley as well. So here we have it. You can see, actually this is going to stay mostly east of the Mississippi River Valley, but you get it into portions of Mississippi, Alabama, and then up into Tennessee by Friday is where heavy rain, flooding potential is going to persist. For us, not so much in the way of rainfall. One thing that is still going to be an issue are our beaches. So coastal locations, specifically Gulf-facing beaches, more so than areas kind of protected by the barrier islands a little bit, but we are looking at wave forecast 5 to 7 feet. That's head high or a little higher. High rip current risk is going to be possible with that period 8 to 9 seconds. It's pretty messy out there right now. We also have a really strong downshore current or southward current because of our northeast wind that is set up here in the coastal bend, and so that northeast wind is going to become a problem for anyone that tries to venture out into the Gulf of Mexico, no matter what you're doing, whether that's trying. I know last time when we had, I think it was Barrel, someone tried to go out in a kayak. Not a good idea. Today, tomorrow, Thursday, we slowly see the waves falling. The wind will become lighter, conditions will improve, and we're looking pretty flat into Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So wait to get your kayak out till then. Here's a look at the tropical weather impact again now through Wednesday. The big issue is more so surf, not so much rain. In your 7-day forecast, we still have our weather impact alert for surf beach conditions Tuesday and Wednesday, but overall that's trending down, especially in terms of the coastal flooding. Since we didn't see much flooding at North Beach, there has been water up to the dunes on our local beaches, so I don't advise camping or anything like that over the next 2 days. Conditions will improve over the weekend, so just put that off if you're trying to do that till when it improves. Yeah, that pretty much does it for this live update. I'm going to go back to this satellite radar imagery of Francine. Oh, I could show you, there is something else I want to show you. For some reason, it wasn't in my little pre-made rundown, but I did want to talk about the steering winds and how that's going to impact Francine. So this is a mix of steering winds and wind shear. But what you see is right now, Francine doesn't have a lot of wind shear. So we do anticipate it to strengthen to Category 1 By this afternoon, there is some drier mixing in, Francine, from Mexico. That is limited it just a little bit, but not a lot. But this pattern right here, so we basically have the jet stream showing up right through here. So this is really strong winds that are going to lead to wind shear. Big difference between high and low pressure in the upper levels of the atmosphere. But in between this low pressure trough and this area of high pressure, Francine is going to tap into those steering winds. And that's why the storm is starting to take a turn toward the Louisiana coast, right? So as we move on along, you see Francine was once anticipated to strengthen to Cat 2, but it starts to interact with a little bit of that shear on the northern side of this high pressure. Still has a good chance of intensifying as it approaches the Louisiana coast, but quickly, once it makes landfall, really interacting with that wind shear that's associated with the deepening of this trough a bit. So we get a ridge that takes Francine nice and north with the high over the Gulf of Mexico, and we get this trough deepening a little bit over Texas, and that's what's really going to start to steer Francine north is that area of air flowing between that high and that low pressure system, basically. And that's why it's not moving this direction, right? So that's our steering winds, and that's why Francine is moving away and why we're anticipating it to stay more so at Category 1 strength. So now I will go back to the tropical SATRAD. And I'll take a look at some of the questions and comments and concerns. A good cold front, not a cool front, yeah. They're all cold fronts based on the type of air that it's bringing in and the direction of the winds, but overall, October is when we tend to get the fronts you're looking for, Ashley. Albert, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, TJ. Yes, Valerie, it looks like we dodged another bullet. A little bit more rain would have been nice, but we don't want the flooding or the winds that can come with it, that's for sure. I know it's fun to not have a time constraint, that's for sure, Marshall. Abel, good morning, and Diane, Corpus still has a chance for some light rain here or there before the day is all said and done, but the heavy rain is weakening as it approaches the coast, and additionally, it's going to start to move away from the coast as Francine also moves away. So here's the big picture for anyone that's wondering about Corpus. Thank you, Jesse. Hi, Domingo. Okay, so here's our stationary boundary. It's starting to lift north as that trough that I mentioned. So when we were talking about the upper level atmosphere, at the surface, there's a weak little surface trough that sets up below that upper level trough also. That trough is going to kind of be what is responsible for helping lift this stationary boundary north. So as the boundary lifts north, there could still be a few showers, but you see it's very, very isolated as it does so. Not a whole lot of rain anticipated for Corpus Christi, not a whole lot of rain anticipated for Houston. Once this stationary boundary keeps lifting north, we do get a little bit more rain across kind of northeast Texas. And then here is where Francine really starts to kind of merge with that trough and become a little bit subtropical or post-tropical, and then interact more kind of like a warm front, cold front system as it weakens there. But yeah, not a whole lot of hope for any rain at this point for Corpus Christi or anywhere. High pressure, watch what happens. This high pressure does bring back our southeast wind, which means that we are going to see an increase in our humidity, and we could see a little bit of rain trying to move back into the area as we head into next week. It's not going to be a lot, not a soaker, but we're just a tad unsettled and a tad humid to where we could get some rain with the help of daytime heating especially. But nothing to get too excited about. The good news is we saw a lot of rain last week, so our drought conditions should still be in good shape. The next drought monitor comes out on Thursday. So Kingsville, no rain. No rain. If you get an isolated shower, consider yourself very lucky. I do not anticipate any rain in Kingsville or high winds or anything. The strongest wind or the chance of rain is all right along the coastline. So that's going to do it for this live update. I want to thank everyone for watching. Don't forget to check out our app. That's the best way to get updates anytime you want. You can click the stories you want, watch the weather forecast, watch the videos. KIITV.com/app is what you can type in to get to that website to download our app.